Hello and welcome to Victoria's Cantina, where today we're having a look at the Bandai Tamashii Nations S.H. Figuarts Star Wars Anakin Skywalker. This is the Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith version of Anakin. Previously we looked at the Episode 2 Attack of the Clones version of the character in the S.H. Figuarts toy line, and it's really cool that Episode 3 Anakin has also been released because, of course, I think the design is a little bit more popular, generally speaking, than the Episode 2 design of Anakin. But also it's really nice that S.H. Figuarts is expanding on their Star Wars prequel offerings, especially since the sequel trilogy has been kind of the forefront of Star Wars entertainment for the last few years now. So the packaging is nothing too remarkable. It's basically anything you've ever seen before out of an S.H. Figuarts release. Same thing that we typically see with the black and the silver. At the back, you do have some very nice images of Anakin right there, and you can see that the figure is posed in different setups, just to highlight some of the different things that the figure can accomplish. And overall, it looks quite nice, quite simplistic, but it gets the job done. All right, I'm going to spend a moment and get this figure unboxed. When we come back, we'll take a closer look at Anakin. All right, so here's Anakin out of the packaging, and it's a very interesting looking figure, if nothing else, at least when we talk about the head. I know we just reviewed the ObiWan Kenobi Revenge of the Sith, and there were some issues with the head on that figure. I don't see any issues per se, but I'm not really feeling it. Let's go ahead and continue on with the physique of the figure. It looks good. Proportionately speaking, the S.H. Figuarts figures always have very nice physiques, very good silhouettes. And this is no exception. The costume does look really good. It looks very detailed. The colors are looking very nice. And of course, we get our interchangeable hands, our lightsabers, our interchangeable faceplates, all the usual S.H. Figuarts Star Wars stuff. But going back to that head, I'm not really feeling it. To me, it just looks like a cartoony Anakin Skywalker. It has a very anime look about it, doesn't it? Like, it just doesn't look very realistic. And that's one of the things I've always loved about the S.H. Figuarts figures, is that they do have that realism to them. And I think you could certainly still say that about the costume and the overall physique of the figure, but the head sculpt definitely looks a little bit cartoony. A little bit like a caricature of Anakin, rather than a realistic interpretation of him. Now you can see that he is kind of scowling. He doesn't look happy. He looks like somebody really pissed him off. The skin tone actually looks really nice. It does look pretty realistic. But the way the eyes have been done and just the way his brow is furrowing, it definitely has that anime look to it. The hair actually looks very good on the other hand. It's very nicely done, very nicely sculpted, and the coloring is very nice too. I kind of feel like in Revenge of the Sith, Anakin tended to have this sort of greasy look to his hair, and they captured that pretty nicely. From the profile, that actually looks quite a bit like Hayden. But yeah, that hair is very nice, and you can see it's not just like brown or anything. There is a little bit of a wash. When you look into the creases and stuff, you can kind of see that how some of that black wash made its way in there, and that helps to bring out the detail. Yeah, we do have two other faces. We'll talk about that, but just the stock face that comes out of the box doesn't look the best. Now, as I was noting, the skin tone looks very nice. You can see that on the neck. You can see it a little bit on the chest. The hand, or the left hand, definitely has that sort of a nice look to it. Now, the rest of the costume is also very nicely done. You can see that it is gorgeous. I mean, the detail, the texture on his shirt, on the sleeves, has almost like a little bit of a corduroy look to it. This is gorgeous. I really like the detail here. The tabards, you can see, are kind of like this semi-glossy, almost black. It's definitely darker than what he had in Attack of the Clones. Maybe not just for the figures, but also in the movies. Definitely look darker, and they capture that pretty well. It almost looks like leather, just the way that they approached it, and I really like that. See, he's got his glove. It's nicely detailed, some silver paint on there. The belt is looking pretty nice. He's got some pouches on there. There are some little bits here with coloring, like some silver, some gold, and even some bronze. Very nice. You can see that the lightsaber hilt is clipped in here, and this looks very nice. Nice to see Anakin's lightsaber hilt. Of course, they did change the prop in each of the films, so even in the original trilogy, it's not the same exact prop. It does have some aesthetic differences to it, and they capture that pretty nicely here. Definitely has a Revenge of the Sith specific look to the lightsaber hilt. And then we can go ahead and just stick that back in here, just like that. And continuing on the detail here, like I said, it looks really nice. The pants are nice. Lots of chocolates going on here. This kind of makes me crave some chocolate just looking at it. Looks great. And yeah, the boots too. They have a little bit of a glossy look to them, but they're beautifully sculpted. Bottom is the same color. Now, in terms of articulation, so with S.H. Figuarts, it's no surprise. You do have a double ball pin, so at the top of the head and at the neck, you get quite a bit of combined movement between the two. Now, you can sort of move them independently of each other, but you do get this really nice range of movement with the figure. At the shoulders, you can pull them out, you can rotate them. It doesn't seem like they drop down a little bit, so there is a sort of a butterfly type joint in there as well. You do have your bends here at the elbows, more than 90 degrees. Here at the wrists, you can swivel them, you can move them up and down. They are all on ball pins so that you can interchange them with the other hands. Here at the waist, you get 2 points of articulation here actually. So you have the top part and then you have the bottom part, which you see they do move independently of one another. So you do get some really nice movement there. Really nice movement. Here at the hips, they can come practically all the way out, but they're not too obstructed actually. Like this is really, has got a lot of give to it, the little skirt right there. So yeah, no hindrance there. That is pretty nice. And there's not even like a slit there on the side. It looks like the slit is actually, oh, this is cool. The slit is actually in the center on both sides. So not only do you have a very cohesive look because you don't have that ugly slit, but you benefit by having the full range of movement there. As far as going all the way out, you can get them pretty much all the way out too. So I'm pretty pleased with that. Oh gosh. So we can drop down the legs to make Anakin a little bit taller. To help with posing, you can swivel them there at the upper thighs. At that ball joint, you have your bends here at the knees, full bend. And then at the ankles, they go up, they go down, they go side to side, they pivot. And at the toes, we also get our joints right there. So very nicely articulated figure. Just the same as pretty much all Star Wars Figuarts figures. All right, so in terms of our interchangeable hands, out of the packaging, Anakin comes with his 2-fisted hands. He's also going to come with 2 lightsaber gripping hands, both of which are a little bit relaxed. They're not full gripping hands, which is interesting that this set doesn't actually include those. And then he also has 2 relaxed hands, or you could use them as like force choking or force shoving hands. All right, so now in terms of our interchangeable faceplates, we have 2 of them. They're not full heads. They are basically just faceplates. The first one here you can see is Anakin's screaming head. He's like yelling and very angry looking, which isn't too different from the stock head that he comes with, which is also kind of scowling. But yeah, this one is definitely different in terms of his mouth's open. It is very interesting. And then we also have this head right here, which is his Sith eyes head. I actually like the expression best on this head out of the 3, or on this faceplate. Yeah, he's got the Sith eyes and they look really nice, very nice skin texturing. This has the most realistic look to it though, despite the Sith eyes. Maybe it's because it's neutral and they didn't really try and like cartoonize. But yeah, I mean, I think this is probably going to be my favorite of the 3. So in order to swap that out, again, it's not a whole head, it's just the plate, which I can't stand when it's just the faceplate, but that's what it is. So we're going to have to kind of pry a little bit gently here. You can see that along the hairline where that gap is, that's where you kind of try and unplug it. Oop, it just fell apart. And let's go ahead and try the screaming face first of all. Line that up and get that pushed in. Yeah, I mean, shouldn't this face have the Sith eyes? I mean, he looks the angriest clearly here. I mean, I guess it's cool. I'm never going to display him with this face though. I mean, I'm just not going to do that. We'll go ahead and pull this one off now. And here is the Sith eyes face. Again, I think this looks the best overall. It just has like the most realistic look about it. And I think I'm going to use this head to pose him because I definitely like it better than the one that comes out of the packaging where he's got that scowl. Just looks a little too cartoony. I like this one the best, even though I'm not the hugest fan of the Sith eyes. I'm glad that we have Sith eyes. I just don't think this is the face that should have them. I think it should be that screaming face. But I mean, despite that, this does look the best overall to me. Now, of course, we can't forget about the lightsaber. So the lightsaber has the same hilt that we have on his belt without the little peg on it. It's the Revenge of the Sith Anakin Skywalker lightsaber. It looks great. Very nice coloring, very nice little details on it. And the blade itself is pretty nice as well. It's kind of like a medium blue color. And yeah, looks good. And to get in his hand, you're going to split it apart. Boom. Just like in The Last Jedi, kind of. And then we'll slide that bit in right there, and then we'll slide the bottom bit in right there, and now he's got his lightsaber. Bzz. All right, so here's a comparison of the Revenge of the Sith Anakin along with the Attack of the Clones Anakin. And I mean, looking at them one to the other, I really miss that they're not doing the realistic approach on this new Anakin, because when you look at the Attack of the Clones Anakin, it's got a very realistic looking face. I mean, it looks just like Hayden Christensen. Whereas the new one, even though things like the skin tone might be a little bit better, the likeness just is not there. Yeah, it's really no comparison to me, you guys. I mean, the Attack of the Clones Anakin definitely is the better figure in terms of the likeness, in terms of the overall face. I mean, it just looks like Hayden Christensen, just like shrunk down. And yeah, the Revenge of the Sith looks nothing like him to me. I mean, like I said, if you look at him from the side, it does there, but not quite as well as this other one does. Yeah, maybe the hair isn't as nice on the Attack of the Clones figure, but it's pretty accurate to the film. I will say that the Revenge of the Sith one has a much more detailed costume. Like if you look at the sleeves, if you look at his tunic underneath, like it's got a lot more texturing than what you have on the Attack of the Clones. I mean, you could definitely see that. So in that sense, it's a better looking like action figure overall, but the heads just aren't like you can't even compare them in my opinion. I mean, I'm really disappointed in the head sculpt. Like I said, maybe the Sith eyes one has the most realistic look to it. I mean, we put it next to him. I mean, even then, it's like I love the head on this one. It's just there's no comparison. Like I really love the head on the Attack of the Clones Anakin. It's just a shame that the new one doesn't look as good because it's a more recent figure. It should look better, right? But I don't know. I feel like Figuarts is going backwards lately in a few areas, and this definitely seems to be one of them. Here's a look at our Anakin figure along with the Star Wars The Black Series Anakin Skywalker from Revenge of the Sith. And again, there's no comparison on the costume. S.H. Figuarts always does a great job at the overall proportions and physique. And the same is true here. It's a lot more proportionate. But also the glossiness. That's one of the things that really bothered me on older Black Series figures was that they were just overly glossy. And you could definitely see that on the Black Series Anakin. Not just the face, but the costume also. It's just very shiny. And it cheapens the aesthetic. It makes it look like a toy. And of course, the faces are quite different. I mean, you look at them one next to the other. Even though I'm not really a huge fan of the Figuarts Anakin's face, I mean, it still looks better than this. And yes, this figure is being re-released later this year with a photoreal. So it may look better than that ultimately. I'm not sure. But yeah, I don't think this is a terrible figure. If you have the Black Series or if you want to wait for the re-release coming in the archive line, then that's going to be a good option for you. But, you know, if you're collecting the Figuarts line and you like that more premium feel to your figures, then, I mean, the Figuarts for $50 is also an option. Here's a look at the Revenge of the Sith Anakin along with the Revenge of the Sith ObiWan Kenobi, which I recently reviewed. And if you saw that video, then you know that I had a couple of pretty big QC issues with Obi-Wan, and he's going back to Amiyami. They're exchanging the figure for me. So I don't have the neutral head on this Obi-Wan for the reason you can see in that video, but just wanted to look at them side by side, and they look good together. Obi-Wan's a little tall. Anakin should certainly be a bit taller than Obi-Wan, but as it is, I would say maybe Anakin's just a smidgen taller, but not tall enough. So, I mean, that's really my only gripe, but it's not a huge deal. I mean, that's kind of always been a thing with Figuarts figures. The heights are sort of there, but they're not fully there. So I guess that's to be expected to some degree. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so there you have it. This is the Bandai Tamashii Nations S.H. Figuarts Star Wars Anakin Skywalker from Revenge of the Sith. Overall, you guys, it's a fun figure. It's a very nice looking figure. I'm not a huge fan of those faces, though. I mean, the faces themselves just don't really do anything for me. I mean, I kind of like the Sith Eyes version, but it would be better without the Sith Eyes. I think the Sith Eyes should have been on one of these other faces instead. But what can I do? I can only review the actual product as it is. I obviously don't make any of these decisions. The costume itself does look very nice. I'm hugely impressed with the overall aesthetics of the costume, all the detailing on the figure, the colors of the costume, all of that looks exceptionally good. The articulation works very well, the interchangeable hands, the lightsabers, all that's great. I'm just not really feeling the faces. I don't think they look much like Hayden Christensen, and in that sense, they did a better job with the Attack of the Clones version of the figure. But nonetheless, if you're collecting the S.H. Figuarts line, I think it's a good one to have, and I'm definitely happy to have it. It just could have been better. It does disappoint me that it's not a perfect figure, because considering how good the Attack of the Clones version was, they should have knocked it out of the park with this one, and it's just so annoying that they came so close, but just didn't quite get there. Again, the Black Series version is coming back in the archive line with the updated photoreal paint application, so if you don't want to spend the $50, you'd rather spend the $20, that's not going to be a bad option for you. Alright my friends, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think of this Anakin Skywalker? Are you going to grab it? Did you already grab it? Are you going to wait for the archive version? Be sure to follow on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter for the latest news and updates. Special thanks to my Cantina patrons over on Patreon. As always, I'd like to thank you for tuning in to Victoria's Cantina. Until next time, bye-bye.